Scott Reed, and I am joined today by
Mike Atchison.
And we are going to cover the previews catalog for March 2021 for items that are generally shipping in May of 2021. So if anything that we talk about during this podcast is of interest to you, then please reach out to Mike Noe at Campus Comics. You can find Campus Comics at 816 East Main Street, Suite B in Carbondale, Illinois. You can also reach Mike through Facebook, send him a message there, or you can call 618-457-6011. The store physical location is open, and it's open right now for their winter hours, Tuesday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So stop in, see what all Mike has going on. Of course, he's got in a nice selection of statues and stuff, in addition to models. That's kind of Mike's real passion, is the model kits, and he's even brought in inventory of posters. So there's lots of stuff to check out in the store. So, Mike Atchison, anything you want to add before we dive in?
No, I'm just ready to dig into these previews catalogs and start talking about the good stuff.
All right. So the orders for the month of March are due on the 18th. So if you can, try to get in any pre-orders to Mike before the 18th. You do have a few extra days. That's not a hard date on the 18th, but as close to the 18th as you can get it, the better, just to ensure that you get the books that you are pre-ordering through the catalog. So, all right. So page 2 of the DC catalog, we've got a new Mr. Miracle book. Shiloh Norman gets his own series, and he's kind of been the Mr. Miracle through Future State, not so much scot-free. And so we got a new series, 4 issues, right? No, 6 issues. Excuse me, 6-issue series coming out in May 25th. Your thoughts on that book, Mike?
Shiloh being the protege of Scott Free. Shiloh first appeared in the original New Gods or Mr. Miracle comic back in the early 70s under Kirby's creative hand. And he wasn't Mr. Miracle at the time, but Grant Morrison graduated him in I want to say it was the early 2000s Seven Soldiers of Victory series. There were several little mini series that were connected. And I'm actually more excited about reading this because I am ready to see some rejuvenation in the Mr. Miracle character after the Tom King sort of dark take, which was a really well-written book, but I just wasn't really wanting to see things like that with him. So yeah, I don't know who this Brandon Easton is or what his credentials are. I've heard of the name, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we did a review of the Mr. Miracle series, and I'm with you on. I thought the book was good overall. I thought that the premise of the Tom King book was flawed in that, this Scott Free was a guy that survived, apocalypse, and he becomes suicidal. I don't buy that premise. But everything else after I get past the premise worked for me in that book. So, but yeah, this is not Scott Free. So, which also means we probably won't get any big Barda in this book either. But I haven't read a whole lot of Shiloh Norman, Mr. Miracle, so I probably should give this a shot.
Yeah, I'm kind of we're also used to seeing Big Barda and Mr. Miracle Scott Free being each one of a pair. So we'll see how. I mean, maybe this is an opportunity for Shiloh Norman to build his own supporting cast and have his own character build-ups around him and see what comes out of it.
Well, page 3, Yara Flor has already been demoted, so she is now Wonder Girl in the DC universe. Did not take long, so she went from being Wonder Woman in Future State down to Wonder Girl here in whatever we're going to call the current iteration of the DC universe. And even though she is Brazilian, she actually is from Boise, Idaho. So, yeah. That's just kind of a odd little take there. I don't know why they feel like she needs to be from Boise. Feels like they should just let her be from Brazil. So
yeah, I'm not sure if she's Brazilian descent, and
She has to be. I mean, she
yeah, I
is.
mean, and she's revisiting where where her family came from at some point. But yeah, it seems like a long way around to get to that. Joelle Jones is a great artist. I never read any of her Catwoman. I think maybe I bought the first issue, but I'll pick this up just because I want to see if they'll touch on the legacy, because there have been several Wonder Girls, in the last 30, 40 years. Well, probably more than that, since I'd say the early 60s when Donna Troy first took over as Wonder Girl in the Teen Titans. So, yeah, it's be interesting to see how there's some connective tissue there, or if there will be. So I'm going to pick that.
All right, and then on page 5 we got Future State Gotham 1, which they to me are kind of promoting this as a Bat Family book, though probably and almost certainly a lot darker than what the what the Bat Family stories were from the 70s. So
one thing that puts me off though is I'm not a black and white guy. I'm not as interested in those in stories that are told in just black and white. So
I wonder if maybe they're doing that to save a little money because, well, I don't know, they're still charging $3.99 for 32 pages, so that's kind of the default price, and $4.99 for the cardstock variant. So maybe they're trying to just get something a little, I don't know. Well, you can't tell from looking at the cover that it's black and white, so
right.
Get some sticker shock.
Yeah, there'll be some surprises if people don't pay attention to this solicitation. And our old cohort Dan Brown, he's a big fan of the Batman black and white, so I'm betting he'll be reading this.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about anything before page 8?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'll let you go on about Milestone here.
All right. Milestone Returns, the Infinite Edition, which I couldn't understand what was going on with that. It turns out this was a digital first, or I'm sorry, it was came out somehow through the Fandom event last fall, correct, Scott?
Yeah, that's what they said. Is we released during the Fandom event, so a 17-page story. Yeah. This is 48 pages, so I guess we get 31 new pages or 31 pages and some ads to get to that 48-page count on this book.
And it's a return to, no pun intended there, return to these characters that were created back in the mid 90s, early mid 90s. I think Milestone was it came about in 1993 by minority creators like Dennis Cowan and Dwayne McDuffie, even Christopher Priest. I think he was the editor-in-chief at the time for this company for as long as they were around. And I think most of us relate or we recognize characters like Static, or what eventually became Static Shock, and Hardware and Icon. I never read too many of these stories, but I think this looks pretty interesting. So I'm going to pick it up as well.
Yeah, I haven't really, outside of Static or Static Shock, really is the only of these characters that I'm particularly familiar with. So, but it definitely does have my interest peaked. That is for sure. So I'll probably be looking into it, picking it up a copy at least. And who knows? Maybe this is a book where they're gonna, introduce some new characters with their existing lineup of characters. So, well, I guess we would know that. Well, I guess we got the 31 pages for new characters that weren't part of the digital edition. So, let's see. Page. Yeah, next page. Go right ahead.
Yeah, that's another one. It's a one-shot. It's the DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration, #1, and this is spotlighting characters, not just superheroes like the title says. It's characters, because you have some villains in here too, with Cheshire and Lady Shiva, but they're all of Asian descent, or all Asian, period. I mean, the new Superman, he's actually from China, and all his stories when that run was going on occurred in China. So I think this will be a good pickup. There's a lot of Asian characters from DC's history that we will recognize. Some of my favorites are Katana. I'd say Cheshire's another favorite character. And then there's also the potentially new character here that's a Green Lantern.
I
And
checked. I just
yeah,
checked on him. He
did you?
actually his first appearance was in Green Lantern Legacy #1, which came out March of 2020. So he's a year old. That character's been around for a year. I've not read anything with Ty Pham in it. So
You know, I'm fine with the Earth-based Green Lanterns, but we're getting pretty crowded now. Just
yeah,
about every zip code's got their own. Instead of Green Lantern of Space Sector such and such, it's going to be zip codes.
yeah, no
And
kidding.
man, but it's good to see Asian representation.
Well, they're going
Uh,
to divide the Earth up the same way they divide the rest of the universe. So the universe is going to have its own set of, was it 2,814? What's the number?
30. Well, Earth was in 2814
Okay, that's right.
but there's 3600
3,600.
sectors.
That's right, because it's
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
they're going to divide Earth up into 3,600. So there can be 3,600 Green Lanterns by the time it's
You
all said and done.
you
So
you've been listening to too many of Dan's theories on the space sectors. Yeah,
uh,
good stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything. Well, I do. The very next
page
page.
10, right? Yep.
Yeah, page 10 is another one shot. Stargirl's Spring Break Special. I'm not picking this up for Stargirl or Stripes. I'm picking it up for it's going to feature a new version of the Seven Soldiers of Victory. One of my favorite teams, even though they were kind of short-lived back in the Golden Age. These are all modern versions of those characters, except two. The Shining Knight could very well be the same person because Sir Justin is actually from King Arthur's Camelot days, and he just traveled through time, and he may be immortal for all I know, hanging around Merlin and all that. Some of that magic rubbed off on him. And then you got Vigilante looking very young, so I'm not sure if he's a son, a grandson, or just a new person that's wearing his very appropriately designed COVID mask. So, and then we also have the potential for a new character,
Mhm.
a first appearance, because there's a mystery character that's going to appear in this issue too. It may be an existing one, but we don't know. So
Yeah,
pick it
that's
up.
the question: is are they gonna because all the rest of these are kind of characters that have kind of a history, so they're gonna do the same thing with the eighth one, or is this gonna be somebody totally new? So
I don't know. Todd
did
Knock on art too, and Jeff Johns, of course.
yeah.
That's Stargirl's his baby. So good creative team.
So you're a fan of the Shining Knight?
I am, yeah.
Okay, did you read? I'll drop this in here. Did you read the New 52 Demon Knights? Because Shining Knight is one of the members of that Demon Knights team.
Oh, I did not. I didn't pick up a
Oh,
single
okay.
issue of that. Yeah.
Okay. They did a gender swap for that series.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
or wait a minute, or well, let me rephrase that. I can't remember if they did a gender swap or if they just were very vague about the Shining Knight's gender. Maybe that's what it was.
Huh?
So anyway, just so I don't know. So it's definitely not the same character because this guy's pretty clearly masculine
Yeah, he's
in this
all
in this
bearded up, and
yeah, all bearded up. So
I'm trying to think. The Shining Knight's helmet was back in the 40s. Was it a full face helmet, or very? It was more just seemed like it was more. It covered more of the face than this helmet.
I know
But
in
maybe.
Demon Knights it's very comparable to this. So
Okay, all right. Well, and then when you say the whole gender swap thing, we're also talking about Arthurian legends. If you've ever read Camelot 3000, there was a gender swap with Sir Tristan and Isolde, in that you know time bending story.
yeah, Camelot 3000 is in my it's one of the series that's in my to read pile along with that whole Seven Soldiers of Victory pile. That's actually in that to read my to read pile. I'm sitting there staring at it right now. So
Oh man, that is Brian Boland. I mean, it was written by Mike W. Barr, and it was a good story, but the Brian Boland art is what sells it for most people, and I think it still holds up pretty well as a story.
Page 11, we've got Justice League Last Ride #1. I'm mentioning this because it's Chip Zdarsky. He hasn't done a lot of stuff at DC yet. This was a digital first. So, and I don't know if this is a one shot or if it's going to be a continuing series. I don't know how far the digital series went, but this is 32 pages. So if you're a fan of Chip Zdarsky and have been waiting for a print copy of this, here's your chance to pick that up.
Yeah, it looks good.
19's my next page, so whatever you got before 19.
Mine as well is 19. So go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. What is on 19? Oh, so
Batman.
Batman 108. Okay, so behind the scenes look. This is actually the second time that we have recorded this podcast because we had some type of foul up the first time. So we had a discussion about Miracle Molly. They actually pegged this as new villain alert, Miracle Molly on the page. However, Miracle Molly at least has a cameo in Batman issue 106. So here we're getting several covers for Miracle Molly. So if this is a character that interests you, here's going to be a little bit more quantity of Miracle Molly. It looks like here in issue 108. We haven't seen 107 yet to know how much, if any, the character is in issue 107. But 108 probably the full first appearance of Miracle Molly.
I'm a little bit put off. Not that DC cares what Mike Atchison thinks, but I'm put off about that sort of bait and switch. I mean, it's definitely misleading. When it says new villain alert, you're thinking, okay, that's a first appearance. I'm going to pick this up. And it won't be until you decide to, well, let's get this baby slabbed that you find out, oh no, this isn't the one. This is worth $4.
Yeah, it's still worth cover price.
Yeah. But there is a concerted effort in the DC universe, it seems like, to come up with some new villains at least. I don't know how many new heroes, but
yeah, I almost feel like there's too much. It's like, especially in Batman right now, it's like every single issue there is some new character that's showing up. So
yeah, and the more they're like, especially these not necessarily villains, more like anti-heroes like this Ghost Maker.
Mm-hmm.
The more characters you get like that are sort of Batman-esque, the less special Batman is. And you he's already has a Batman family that measures up against the Legion of Superheroes as far as numbers, it seems like. So yeah, I mean, so it makes it all a little bit less special to me.
My next thing's not until page 39, I think. So, well, actually 30. Talk a little bit about page 30.
Okay, go ahead.
But we have Challenge of the Super Sons. This is the second issue, and I just really wish that DC would decide how old Jonathan Kent is. Because here they're definitely going back to the he really looks like he's under the age of 13 here. In Challenge of the Super Sons, how he's rendered on the covers and such. But then you have him in Legion of Superheroes where he's, clearly older, mid to upper teens. And then, of course, in Future State, he's the adult, Jonathan Kent. So I don't know which version we're getting here. So,
it's they probably would have been better off titling this The Untold Tales of the Super Sons, because instead of The Challenge of the Super Sons, because I mean we're left to believe that these are just tales from the past, because in continuity he is 17 or 15 or whatever he is, a much older teenager. Yeah.
So
I had Crime.
I just now noticed the variant cover has Darkseid on it, so it looks like they've played a joke or something, and Darkseid just standing over the top of them, not being amused. So, yeah,
that wouldn't be good.
All right, go ahead with Crime Syndicate.
Crime Syndicate. I've been a fan of them since the first time I read about them. It wasn't when they came out in Crisis on Earth 3 back in the 60s. I wasn't born yet whenever they came about, but when I first read about them in later years in the 70s, I really thought it was cool to have this anti-Justice League that were so much like them, but they were just pure bad people. And so I'm interested to see how they're depicted here. Over the years, the cast of the Crime Syndicate has expanded to characters like Atomica and Superia, and I guess instead of Power Ring, there's one called the Emerald Knight, but he does have that Power Ring symbol on his chest, so he looks like an R3 version of John Stewart. So, yeah,
I guess you could say that they're a Sinister Squadron, or a Squadron Sinister.
Yeah, that's true.
which we'll touch on later.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my next is 35.
Okay, well, I got a question for you on page 34 for Flash number 770. They target this as Wally West return as the Scarlet Speedster. Um, is that a persona that Wally West has taken on before, or are they referring to something specific with Wally's past there? Or is it just the fact that they just call him that because
Yeah, because that's just a common
name for the
moniker for the Flash. Whether it's Barry or Wally or whoever, the Scarlet Speedster. But I can tell by this cover here, it looks like, and the description talks about Wally going through time and he's meeting all the past Flashes. So it looks like this is happening. This cover's depicting Jay Garrick Flash, the original, during World War II. So the cover image looks pretty good. And I again, as with the Batman family or the Bat family, I think I'm just about all flashed out. And so I like having a handful, but not just, they're just one around every corner.
Yep.
And plus, I'm just not buying it. At this point, they should never have done what they did to Wally West. So I'm not going to be as forgiving. Okay, whenever I was younger and more moldable, I could give Hal Jordan a break and let him come back from being parallax and killing off, everybody. But now I'm like, no, just either get rid of Barry or get rid of Wally, and move on.
My next thing's not till 57, unless something else just jumps out at me here.
Just the Green Lantern book is on the next page. That's page 35, and it's some of your typical Earthbound Green Lanterns, but what they've been highlighting in this story has been, I haven't read the first issue, of course, because we're only listing issue 2 here, but Teen Lantern, I can't remember if she's from Brazil or Bolivia, maybe. But
while you talk, I'll see if I can figure that out.
Okay. She's kind of unique in that she's a teenager from, like I said, Bolivia, and she was in Young Justice was where she first appeared, I believe, but she wasn't given or earned a power ring. She was able to find a Green Lantern alien, I guess, similar to Abin Sur that crash landed for Hal Jordan to inherit the role, but she found the ring and hacked into it to be able to use it. So it's kind of got the Guardians a little bit miffed at her, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But I like the idea that she's doing good with something that she wasn't supposed to have. So I like that.
Bolivia, and her first appearance was in Young Justice Volume 3, Number 1 in March of 2019. So that character is 2 years old this month. So yeah. So we've hit, I guess they like releasing Green Lanterns in the month of March because 2020 was Ty Fan, and now you have Teen Lantern in 2019. So there you go. So
there you go. I'm good until 44.
Go for it.
And that's only just another sleight of hand, possibly. I'm not sure if this Nightwing has a new villain alert on the cover called Heartless. Not sure if it's a true first appearance or if it's a character that's maybe had a cameo somewhere before. But that's the only. I'm not picking up Nightwing, but and if anybody's wanting to get something that's a potential first appearance, that might be a book for you.
Yeah. That must be a new character because I searched on DC's wiki site and they don't have any pages for Heartless. So may actually be a first appearance of a character in that particular one because they have Flatline. Well, that's not the same Flatline. Hold on. So because there's a new Flatline, but actually they don't have Flatline there yet either. So from Robin. So
yeah. One positive thing I will say about Nightwing's this book or this series, it's written by Tom Taylor, and to me he's one of the best new writers or newish writers in comics.
Yeah, 57 is my next thing. So
yeah, what's that?
I said 57 is my next book. So the
other history of DC Universe, I've been picking these up. It's an oversized black Black Label book, and it's featuring the history of minority characters throughout DC's history, or throughout the universe, and kind of presenting them in a perspective that they probably weren't presented in real time. And it's by John Ridley, and you just can't go wrong with him.
I thought that was supposed to be a 4-issue series, but they're listing it as 5 here. So this is issue 4 out of 5. So
I thought it was 4 originally as well, but I'm not going to complain.
I haven't read them, but I have them.
I've got them all too. And honestly, I just finished the Wonder Woman Dead Earth series in the last week or two.
Okay.
My last thing is on 51.
All right, go ahead.
Suicide Squad number 3. Again, this is we just had a really good Suicide Squad series written by Tom Taylor that had a completely different cast. They were a bunch of unheard of characters, but under his writing, they really gelled very well. They were anti-heroes. You had a couple of mainstays like Harley Quinn. You had Captain Boomerang. But we're not here to talk about that team. I'm just venting because I miss it. This team, though, at least they're Robbie Thompson, who's a pretty good writer of his own. They've got Peacemaker, that's sort of the team or the squad leader, and he's one of my favorite D-list characters. So I will continue to pick this book up.
And don't forget on the next page 52, to pick up Teen Titans Academy number 3, because it crosses over with that Suicide Squad story. So if you want the whole story, got to pick up both those books this month.
Yep. I made note of that on our first take of this podcast. Oh, but yeah, I was going to mention when you were telling the audience that of the listeners that this was our second take, and I was just going to say that and it's not going to cost you an extra dime.
No, there you go. We put in the extra time. It doesn't cost you anything.
We can just call it a dry run that first time.
Page 57, you got Wonder Woman issue 772, and I mentioned this because we're going to have, I guess, a new Thor for the DC universe. Now, they don't call the character Thor on the cover. They just kind of refer to the God of Thunder here in the solicits, but in the text they do say inspired of many a tale Thor. It's going to be a female Thor. And I know there's probably, you mentioned before that there was some like Silver Age stories that, or maybe Golden Age stories that had Thor in it. I know Neil Gaiman used Thor in Sandman. Because if I remember right, he had this little teeny tiny hammer that he carried around instead of a larger hammer.
Now that you say that, I think Gaiman maybe fashioned his Thor after that one that appearance way back in World's Finest or whatever it was. Last time we talked, I was going to look that up and I forgot, so I want to be sure to look up because I'm pretty sure I have that issue.
Yeah. All right, and then that's everything I have. There's lots of trades for Future State are going to be hitting the shelves starting in May. So if there's something that you were wanting to read all together, Aquaman, Superman, next Batman, Justice League, those are all some of the trades that are hitting starting in May. So
yeah, I didn't realize. I'm sure I've seen it, but I didn't pay attention until now. But the Mark Waid Flash, they're on book 8 of the trade paperbacks, and I might be preaching to the choir to many of the listeners, but that's probably my favorite Flash was Waid, maybe Jeff Johns for a while, and even Morrison. But that era, and that was Wally West. He really is, believe it or not. You would think I'd be more of a Barry Allen guy, but Barry was always kind of stodgy and not as fun, despite how you see him depicted nowadays. It's more like he's got the Wally West character nowadays. But his name
especially in the CW TV series, I would say he's more Wally West than Barry Allen. Yeah. So yeah.
And in the movies, he's just a jokester. But yeah.
Well, no, in the movies, he's not even up to Wally West standards. So
yeah, you don't like that depiction of him.
I'm not a fan of the movie version of the Flash. So
yeah. All right.
Are you ready to jump over to Marvel?
Heck yeah.
All right, so Marvel this month is all about Heroes Reborn. And if you think you have heard that before, well, you have. So back in the 90s, I think, Marvel pulled their main characters, Hulk and Iron Man and the Fantastic Four and Captain America, out of the proper, um, Marvel 616, and what it was determined later is that they got moved over to a Counter Earth, which kind of operate on the opposite side of the sun, I believe, thanks in part to Franklin Richards. But they're going to bring back this name for a 7-issue series from Jason Aaron with art by Ed McGuinness. So if you liked also seeing all these characters pretty bulked up, then yeah, Ed McGuinness is your artist for that. We were talking about Crime Syndicate earlier, and since the Avengers are gone, who has taken their place in the Marvel universe? It's none other than the Squadron Supreme, who was originally introduced as the Squadron Sinister, who is a total, well, I'll say homage instead of ripoff.
That's a nice way to say it. Yeah.
to the Justice League. So there is a character in the Squadron Supreme that's representative of the main Justice League characters. This has got a feeling. Kind of feels like a combination of Heroes Reborn and Death Metal and the Infinity Warps Marvel series, even a little bit of Age of Apocalypse. Here, because of some of the things that we have, they're Heroes Reborn, a world without Avengers. So you have like these kind of mashup characters, like you have Dr. Juggernaut, which is Dr. Doom and Juggernaut combined together. There's Miles Morales as the Falcon. You have Nova as Kid Spectrum. So instead of being, Kid Nova, he's Kid Spectrum, I guess, off of the Squadron Supreme character. To me, this feels like it's going to end up being a little bit silly. But I don't know. This is probably something for somebody who was a fan of death metal, who was a fan of Infinity Warps, this is probably going to be right up your alley. Jason Aaron's gotten a little silly in some of his writing, some of the Avengers stuff and the later Thor stuff. Just, I think it fell off on the story quality telling for me, but I don't like that silliness in my stories.
Too many gimmicks almost,
Yeah.
And that's what I feel about the Scott Snyder. It's like the over the top. How can we beat the last story with something that's even crazier and gimmicky?
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about it. But Marvel's got 15 pages in this book of various Heroes Reborn titles. So it looks like we're getting like a depowered Peter Parker in Heroes Reborn, Peter Parker, the Amazing Shutterbug. A lot of these are one shots. It's 7 issues, 4 issues in May, and I assume the final 3 issues will be in June. So get your order in now if you want to get all of these books and their tie-ins. And it's a lot of one shots along with the 7-issue series. A lot of times they do stuff like this, I feel like they are just protecting a trademark or a copyright, and that's what they're kind of doing with like the Heroes Reborn. It's like, oh, hey, it's been a while since we used that name, we better use it again or it falls out of falls out of trademark. So
right.
I don't know, anything you want to say about any of the Heroes Reborn stuff?
Just, I mean, I've always because I'm mostly a DC fan. I was always intrigued by seeing stories with the Justice League of America analogs, and I mean, it's even in this story called the Squadron Supreme of America. So I'll probably get this just to see and compare and see what I can find interesting. I think I'll be less put off because I'm not a truest Marvel fan. I like Marvel characters, but I'm not as ingrained in the history to be bothered by things being switched up.
I understand. Page 16, we have a new story arc for Fantastic Four in issue number 32, written by Dan Slott. This is The Bride of Doom, and we've got a pretty interesting cover. because it looks like we have the return. I'm assuming this is the return. I'm not caught up on Fantastic Four, but we have the return of I pronounce her name as Lyja, Lyja. She was a Skrull who basically posed as Alicia Masters and ended up getting married to Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. So I'm wondering if there is some something there is going to tie into this Bride of Doom storyline. So not sure if that's supposed to be Bride of Doom, as in somebody's going to marry Doom, or kind of like Bride of Frankenstein, where it's meant for some scheme of Frankenstein as opposed to actually marrying Frankenstein. Was intended for the monsters. So.
Right.
Anyway, but I've heard nothing but good things about Dan Slott's run on Fantastic Four. I'm just behind. I think I'm on about issue 12 on that, so I'm just way behind. But it's been solid what I've read. So, page 18.
Just let us know.
Okay, page 18. We've got X Corp. So if you were ever looking for boardroom drama with your mutants, then this is the 5-issue series for you. It looks like we got Warren Worthington and Monet St. Croix, and I probably need to look up who that actually is. But they are talking about the duo as cutthroat and ruthless in the boardroom as they are on the battlefield. So I guess if you want that boardroom action for your X-Men, there you go.
Do you think it's an accident that it rhymes with LexCorp?
I do not. I do, just because of the fact that everything, all the titles, the X titles start with X. So I think this is just, since it's a corporate story, it's just X Corp. So it does rhyme with LexCorp, but I think that's just a coincidence.
Just okay.
Yeah, I don't think they were. Yeah.
I was just looking up this Monet St. Croix. Says she's a fictional superheroine, a mutant appearing in American comic books, blah, 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 blah. Just in the X-Men family of books. Doesn't say much more about her.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to find that out later.
She's from Bosnia.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about this because we talked about it on the first recording, X-Men Curse of the Man-Thing. This is a one-shot. However, it's also being billed as 3 of 3. So I did find out that there is an Avengers book that is, I think, the first of these Man-Thing stories. I didn't find out what the second book was, but the Avengers book is going to be out here in about 3 weeks, because it was out for final order cutoff this last weekend. So that's what that part 3 of 3 is about, because there's 3 different stories. So the first one is Avengers, the last one is X-Men, and there's another one in between.
That's now. Unfortunately, I just now seen it, because I would probably like to read this, but it sounds like it's mid-story. So
yeah, well, you'd need to track down a copy, at your local comic shop. Hopefully, you can find one that ordered an extra copy of the Avengers Curse of the Man-Thing book, and ask them to say, hey, if you get an extra copy, put it in my list, and then tell them you want the second part, because the final order cutoff hasn't hit for that yet, and you can get your pre-order in for the third one. So.
Yeah, it's a character I've only read a couple books with Man-Thing, but always fascinated because of its its relationship to Swamp Thing, both of them being created by roommates, no less, at about the same month.
Yep. Man-Thing is often, you don't normally tell things from the perspective of the Man-Thing, because he's just kind of around, whereas Swamp Thing is more intelligent. So it's a different perspective for the storytelling with Man-Thing than it is with Swamp Thing.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna say that Man-Thing is mindless, but he is, at least typically, he was lower functioning
I see.
than what Swamp Thing was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got Shang-Chi on my list here. This I don't know if this is a new series that they're highlighting. Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? Yeah, that's so I know with the movie coming up, I don't know anything about this character. I hear you talk about him all the time, and you're probably the most excited out of our group for the movie. So we
haven't seen a Marvel martial arts movie yet, and we haven't.
Right.
Well, and then the closest thing we had was Iron Fist, and that was just bad.
Right.
And
this this guy's truly an Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Kung fu character. So
yeah, And this is a character that Marvel had for a long time. He had like 125, I think it was 125, 125 issues series. And then they lost the rights to the character at some point. And just within the last maybe year, maybe two, they've gotten back the rights to start reprinting the Shang-Chi stories. And then, of course, that immediately led into them starting to develop a film.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That happen?
So I am looking forward to this. I would like to get a good martial arts, movie. And the hint is that we're going to get the actual Mandarin, because it's Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. So hopefully we're going to get the actual Mandarin in this Shang-Chi story. And then there's lots of other leaks about that. But I am looking forward to this. He did have a 5-issue series that just wrapped up. So they're just trying to keep a book on the shelves, because the movie's coming out. I want to say July-ish time frame. We did a rundown of the movies, so but we don't know if this is a one shot or an ongoing series. So it doesn't give us that information here. So back on page 20, the odd book of the month is a Reptile. Reptil, and this is another character I should have looked up, but this is a character that was probably around in the late 90s, early 2000s. I never read any of these stories, but if you've been, I guess probably if you're around the time frame of Darkhawk and Sleepwalker in Marvel, this is probably around the same time frame. So if you've been wanting some more Reptile, you got a 4-issue series. This character actually first appeared in, it's like Avengers the Initiative. Oh, so that would be 2010. So yeah, much later. So never mind, forget the whole reference to Darkhawk and Sleepwalker. He was around in August of 2000 as a regular character in 2010. So anyway, it's a dinosaurish based character. So there you go. There's your chance to pick that one back up. My next thing is on page 24.
You go right ahead.
All right. So we have Fantastic Four Life Story. This is a 6-issue series in the, basically after Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man life story. So we're going to have, for, FF's 60th anniversary, they're giving us their life story and what if they had these adventures over a 60-year time frame. My hope is that they just take some of the highlights of each decade of the Fantastic Four and just tell the same stories with an aged team. So that way we can kind of see how an older, the younger versus the older, more mature versions of the characters would have handled those particular situations, and not just give us a new alternate timeline like what they did with Spider-Man life stories. So this is, well, that's weird. They say at the top, Fantastic Four Life Story 1 of 6. But then when you scroll down, it says 40 pages one shot. It almost certainly is a 6-issue series. I think the one shot is just a typo. So
yeah, I see that too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's got to be a 6-issue series. They couldn't do that. I don't think they could do that justice.
I'd be surprised if it was 40 pages for $5. That's just
but it might be more pages than $3.99. $3.99 is 32 pages. So that makes sense to me. So.
Okay. Well, I'm a big fan of Mark Russell. I liked he's a good satirist, and he's got a good sense of humor. I don't know that he'll be using that in this book, but I look forward to it.
My next thing's not until page 65. I'll just mention in passing that Alien continues at Marvel this month. So if you've been, or pre-ordering the Alien books, then you have another one to order.
I had something back on page 38.
Okay.
That due to, thankfully, we had our little technical glitch, and I won't make the same mistake I made the first recording. So this Thanos Quest, Marvel Tales #1, is reprinting the story that led up to Infinity Gauntlet. Yes, sorry. And so it's, if anybody's, obviously these are books you probably can't find very easily. So pick this up for $8 and you're going to get a nice prelude to Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, you're not going to find either of those books for $8. So, with the in-game stuff, they went up in value quite a bit.
Yeah.
Page 49, I'm kind of interested in X-Men number 20. We have it's still being written by Jonathan Hickman. Oh, that's to be announced on the art. That's kind of interesting. But it looks like we have Nimrod, who is a Sentinel from the future. I don't know if Nimrod's been featured in any of the current X-Men books or not. But he's coming back. So I was, buying X-Men off the shelf whenever Nimrod first appeared. So I kind of enjoyed that character, and this may entice me back into reading X-Men a little bit more, at least for this issue. And if it's good, then I'll maybe, go back and read the rest of it. So.
Gotcha. So what storyline did he really, was he most prevalent in? Was
there wasn't really a
past or
no that he was introduced well past Days of Future Past. I can't remember his first appearance issue, but it was after that. He was just a time traveling. It's almost like a Terminator type of a situation where you have this Sentinel from the future comes back in time.
Yeah.
I think that was Chris Claremont. Like to do that a lot. We talked about with our Christmas X-Men stories. I had an X-Men story was basically Alien. So here Chris Claremont does his version of Terminator in the X-Men universe. So that may be why I liked it, because I was definitely a Terminator fan back in the day. So it may just had that double appeal of X-Men and Terminator. I was in. So I need to review that and see if it holds up. So
Gotcha.
65 is my next thing.
Yeah, I don't have anything up until like 90 something.
Okay, so on page 65 we have the Immortal Hulk issue. Actually, no, I take that back. Not the ongoing series is there, but on page 65 we have an Immortal Hulk one shot. Just now getting there. Time of Monsters #1, and this one is going to be written by Al Ewing along with some others. And this is going to tell the story of the first Hulk from about 10,000 years in the past. And the first one to open the Green Door, which is featured prominently in the Immortal Hulk series. So, and then apparently I had to see that. I just noticed this. There's writer David Vaughn makes his Marvel debut, but this is a 40-page one-shot Immortal Hulk book. You can ignore the 30th anniversary Deadpool cover variant, but I don't know. Definitely, if you're an Immortal Hulk fan, this is probably one that you're going to want to pick up. And then 74 is my next thing.
You go right ahead.
All right, so page 74, we have Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. And this, to me, is the Star Wars story that you never knew you wanted. And when you hear about it, you're like, duh, yeah, I want to know that story. So this story takes place, what happens to Boba Fett as he is transferring Han Solo and Carbonite back to Tatooine. Of course, the rest of the bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe are not going to let him do that easily. So this book crosses over with apparently all of the Star Wars books this month, written by Charles Soule, who had a really good run on Daredevil, and I haven't read a lot of the Marvel Star Wars books, but had a well-received run on Darth Vader as well. So this is the Alpha book, but it crosses over into, let me see, Star Wars Bounty Hunters, the regular Star Wars title, issue 13, and Darth Vader, issue 12, Dr. Aphra, issue 10. So yeah, it hits all of the Marvel books. Not sure how long that's going to be, if that's going to be every month, but it's listed this month as the preludes. And one thing that's interesting to me is that the same month they're releasing the first title, they're also releasing a director's cut of the main War of the Bounty Hunters book with a variant cover, director's cut. I usually think I see these at least a few months later, if not even maybe a year later. But you can get the director's cut apparently the same month as the regular book.
Wow. Well, I'm sold on this Steve McNiven art.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they have a nice 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 page preview of some of his art, and it is good. Boba Fett looks incredible. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it looks really really good. So I figure this is a story that I know enough about the Star Wars universe, even not reading the Marvel books on a regular basis. I'm sure I can follow along. Because we're surely going to see all the rest of the bounty hunters like Bosk and Dengar and IG-88, and then of course some of the bounty hunters that are more tied to the comics will be making their appearances. So
Yeah.
I think we both have 94. Do you got anything before 94 you want to
No,
talk
94
about?
was it.
All
Yeah.
right, you go.
Yeah, this is it is the Death of Captain Marvel hardcover edition, and it's features storylines that that basically told the story of Marvel, and it was one of the first stories I ever remember seeing. Even though I never read the original, I remember the cover of a superhero dying, and he truly died. He didn't come back, willy-nilly. And probably one of the more memorable covers in comic history is, his death. So, I mean, you've got creators written by Stan Lee, Roy Thomas, Jim Starlin, Steve Englehart, Doug Munch, and then pencils by Gene Colan, Jim Starlin, and Pat Broderick. And so it collects Marvel superheroes 12 and 13, Captain Marvel #1 and number 34, Marvel Spotlight 1 and 2, and then Marvel graphic novel 1, The Death of Captain Marvel. So for $45, that's a bargain right there.
Yeah, because Marvel Superheroes 12, that you get the first appearance of Marvel. Issue 13 gives you the first appearance of Carol Danvers, who later becomes her own Captain Marvel after her stint as Ms. Marvel. Then, of course, Captain Marvel 1 is his first solo story. Issue 34 of Captain Marvel is where he fights Nitro, and this is the event that causes Marvel to get cancer. I do not know what happens in Spotlight 1 and 2. I guess I need to track those down and figure that out. Then, of course, the graphic novel, Death of Captain Marvel, is where Marvel passes. Jim Starlin basically tied that story into his father's battle with cancer. And it's nice that Marvel has kind of honored this death. There have been, Captain Marvel has shown back up a few times, but it's always been whenever a character has traveled to some world of the dead or dimension of the dead. There was a really good Secret Invasion story where Captain Marvel comes back, and the whole time he is actually questioning, am I the real Captain Marvel? And you can probably figure out, since it was tied into Secret Invasion, who he actually was. But it's outstanding. But I feel like you had to know at least the Death of Captain Marvel history to really get the full impact of that Secret Invasion Captain Marvel story. So
yeah.
But
so
yeah,
two
these are
thumbs
definitely
up. Two thumbs up from us, right?
Yeah, I think so. And you could probably find just the Death of graphic novel, the reprint of that, for less than $45. But if you want to kind of get the full beginning and end, I guess, for Marvel, then that would be where you would get it at.
It's just one of those storylines that I think really is nice to have in a hardcover to put on your shelf, on your bookshelf. And it's an important story.
Yep. And I think that wraps up previews for me. I think you had one more thing though, right?
I had
or Marvel for me anyway.
Yeah, one more Marvel on page 103. It's the Treasury Edition. It's a reprint of the 1976 Treasury Edition, Captain America's Bicentennial Battles. Now, I have the original copy of this, written by Jack Kirby, penciled by Jack Kirby, covered by Jack Kirby. So you can't go wrong with this. It's all oversized art, which makes that's one of my favorite parts of these Treasury Editions. Naturally, they are hard to store or put on a shelf. People have tried for years, but at least now they make sleeves, plastic bags and boards and stuff like that. But, there was a DC contemporary book at the same time. It was the Superman Bicentennial Special. And they really cheated the readers because it was full of a bunch of Tomahawk stories. It really had just like Superman was sort of like a figure narrating, the storylines, but no actual Superman stories. So I have a lot more respect for the Captain America version.
Some bait and switch on their part, huh?
Oh, yeah. Even back then.
All right, you ready for the big book?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Well, I'll start on page 26. I don't know. You had something, I think, before 26, but
Yeah.
while you're getting there.
I have like pre-comic book stuff. It's kind of like in the Overstreet price guide. I like to read the guide is just like secondary to all the stuff I read in the price guide. So in the previews catalog, first of all, they've got an ad here on the very first page saying free comic book day is going to be August 14th, 2021. Mark your calendars. Hopefully this year we'll have a little bit. It'll be a better situation for all, and we'll keep you posted when we know more from Mike Noe on Campus Comics. This issue of previews is highlighting women in comics. The many women that work in the industry, and whether it's behind the scenes as creators or publishers or editors or whatever, there'll be a few books that we'll talk about that will be created by women. And one more thing I thought, but I don't think I do. So, I know it. It's one thing I always look at is the scoop on what the old comics have sold for at Heritage Auction. So Batman #1 CGC 9.4, the finest known copy, set a new record for the highest price at $2.22 million at Heritage Auctions. Now, I know you're all kicking yourselves for not paying attention to that auction site because you probably would have wanted to bid on that, but sorry about that. But what I find interesting is that Batman #1 is not the first appearance of Batman. It's Detective Comics 27, which just a week before, or a couple weeks before, had set a record then for a book being auctioned off at $1.5 million. So, these kinds of things, it's just neat to look at and dream about.
Yeah, that 27 that sold was a 7.0. So
right, true.
1.5, yeah.
So it wasn't a complete apples to apples comparison.
No,
but, yeah, it's hard to believe there was one in that condition.
Yeah. Page 26, we've got previews. So we talk about maybe 5% of the stuff that's in the previews catalog, and probably down to 3% since we're down a man for the podcast here for a while of what's actually in the catalog. So if you are, there's lots of stuff to choose from, especially if you're more into the pop culture stuff. Definitely grab the catalog so that you can see all the things that we don't mention. Absolutely. Image. What do you got in Image?
Well, I think you and I both talked about it. Or maybe not. You have one right after me.
Yeah.
My first pick for Image was the first issue of a 9-point series called The Good Asian.
A 9-point series?
Sort of sorry?
A 9-point series?
Oh, I'm sorry. Not 9-part. Sorry, I'm just learning how to talk.
You're still on the CGC grading, so.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was. Anyway, a 9-part, 9-issue mini called The Good Asian. And it's essentially, you can tell by looking at the cover, it looks like something you'd see on a Gene Colan drawn Nathaniel Dusk cover. Very pulpy looking. It's basically an Asian detective working in Chinatown in 1936 and faced with the torn or divided loyalties of his police duties and the mistreatment of immigrants. Particularly the Chinese immigrants there. So I'm not going to try to pronounce the writer's name, but yeah. So it looks very intriguing. The preview art looks good. So that's my Image recommendation for sure this month.
Yeah. Well, the writer, if you just pronounce the name as it looks, his first name is Pornsak.
Yes.
So, okay. And then I'm going to go with Pashashot is the writer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the artist, who's also Alexandre Tefingi, his style, at least on the interiors, looks like if you merge Gene Colan with Darwin Cook.
Yeah.
So, because you got kind of like some of like the dark shadows, and then the looks like a lot of lines, like what you would see from Darwin Cook. And it
Yeah.
does feel like it has a lot of themes similar to what where we just read Abbott, and reviewed that book. It kind of feels
Right.
with that whole dealing with race relations and such in an environment. So,
Exactly.
page 36, we got Time Before Time. This is from writer Declan Shalvey and Rory McConville. Basically, the idea is that apparently around 2140, everybody wants to get out off of the Earth. So a group calls the Syndicate is actually sending people back in time and establishing new identities for them. And of course, we have one looks like a mother and son go back to 1987 in this art preview, and the boy gets back to 1987 and learns that he doesn't have Wi-Fi, so he's miserable. But could be interesting. So it's a series premiere. Anytime you hear somebody with the name Syndicate, you assume that there are going to be some type of crime association with that group. Page 40, we have. Go ahead.
Scott, it's weird. It's weird looking at these stories and seeing stories about people going back in time to 1987 after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah. Page 40, we got Aquarius, the Book of Myrrh.
Yep.
I'm just going to mention this book. It does have a really nice variant cover by David Mack for David Mack fans. But it's about mermaids, and they refer to it as historical fiction. So I'm not for sure about the historical part of mermaids, but there you go.
So I thought about this since this is our second pass at reviewing previews. I've thought about it in the last couple of days, and my take maybe is that, okay, so there's a lot of Arthurian fiction. I've always liked that kind of those kind of novels, and they're just stoked with magic and mythological creatures and things, but they are based on supposedly a real person. Yeah. It was all the legends were based on a real person, so maybe it's that kind of mashup. It's I don't know what history they're talking about, but my concern is the quarterly coming out only quarterly. It seems like a big weight.
Yeah, and how many pages is it? It is a 48-page book instead of a 32-page book, so you do get a little bit more.
Yeah.
When you do see an issue, so.
But if for no other reason, I recommend it because it's one of the women writers that are highlighted in this preview is Afua Richardson, and she's actually an Eisner Award-winning creator. She was the artist of HBO's Lovecraft County. Was it county or country?
It says county there.
I always thought it was country, and yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched the series, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Page 49.
I'm up to 55. Yeah.
Okay, so page 49, we've got Die issue 16. So Die is back in the catalog, and Die refers to the plural of dice, or excuse me, singular of dice.
Singular, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The singular of dice. This is going to start a new story arc, and I am going to suggest that this is going to be the final story arc for Die, because the image on the cover, they have always used a flattened 20-sided dice. And I'm going to speculate that issue 20 is going to be the final issue. So we're going to get 16 through 20 is the final story arc here. Not trying to ruin anything that they might be doing, but I think by not saying when this is going to end, we could be in for a big surprise when we get to issue 20.
I think it's a good prediction, Scott. I'm writing that down.
All right. So I don't have anything else in Image. So what else you got in Image?
It's the crossover. I didn't pick these up in single issues against my better judgment. But crossover volume 1, trade paperback, written by Donny Cates. He's liked by many, not everybody, but by many. But the premise, I've heard a little bit about this, listening to other podcasts, and it sounds fantastic. And so I'm going to get this trade for sure. It's basically it's a good multiverse story, which there are a lot of multiverse stories that aren't good, but think the wrong Earth good. I think it's like that.
Well, if you had listened to the Campus Comics Cast podcast when that book was first solicited, I think somebody picked that as an investment pick. So I'm just saying, maybe you should listen to that podcast more often. Dark Horse.
Yeah, Dark Horse.
Okay, so page 80. This is also one of the Gem of the Months. The House of Lost Horizons, a Sarah Jewell mystery with Mike Mignola as the writer, Chris Robertson also as the writer. So it's kind of like a Lovecraftian story to me, the occult or murder mystery. They give you one page of the story, which doesn't really pull me in, but it's Mignola. It's probably going to be pretty good. So if you like occult type stories, there you go.
Yeah.
Page 8. Go ahead.
No, I would just say I'm up to 91.
Okay, page 82, we've got The Witcher, Witch's Lament. This is a new 4-issue series from Dark Horse. So fans of the video game or the Netflix series or the original books, if you are needing a Witcher fix, here's a new 4-issue series for you to pick up. And then on page 89, we have Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League. And in the 80s, we had a Buckaroo Banzai movie. And the more I think about this, I'm pretty sure there was another Buckaroo Banzai story in the last few years. So this is being billed as the long-awaited sequel to The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. It is finally here. So if you have been lacking enough Buckaroo Banzai in your life, now is the time to come back to Buckaroo Banzai. Courtesy of Dark Horse. Written by Earl MacRosh, and they do not list an artist. Huh. Oh, okay. This is a prose adventure. So you're not looking at pictures. It's actually, you got to read this.
Everybody better get their big boy and big girl pants on.
No kidding. All right. 568 pages. Okay. Now I'm glad that we went through this catalog again, because I totally missed it was prose the first time.
That's hilarious.
All right. Wow.
I've been waiting for the first person that actually writes in and says, these guys recommended this book, and it's not even a comic.
That's right. It's not even comics. Where's the pictures at? All right. I don't think I have anything till Boom on page 190, so I'll flip through while you're going.
All right. Just a quick mention on page 91, the Hellboy Universe Essentials. It's a trade paperback, of course, by Mike Mignola and Dave Stewart on covers. It's basically one of these. If you don't know much about Hellboy, and I don't, it's the kind of book you'd want to pick up just to learn about the character, about the history of the character, and then maybe prompt you to read more of the books featuring him and all of his offshoots, the BRPD or BPRD and all that good stuff. So I don't really have anything in IDW or Dynamite.
Okay, I'll just mention for G.I. Joe fans or Snake Eyes fans on page 116, the Rob Liefeld Dead Game, Snake Eyes Dead Game. That's going to be the trade paperback for that series is going to be released in July. So they're taking pre-orders for that now. Dynamite, page 156. We do have the third issue of James Bond, Agent of Spectre. So there's something from Dynamite to pick up.
And that's something we just reviewed a previous
the Black Box
book or trade called Black Box. It's in that same series of trades, or series of miniseries, I guess you'd say.
Yep. All right, 182.
Yep, 182.
Okay.
This one caught my eye because it's a number one. It's by Boom, one of 5 limited series, and it's a gem of the month. I don't know the creator, Victor Laval, or the illustrator, Joe Mignon, but the cover caught my eye because it's sort of an homage to the Commandy number 1, except this is a young lady that's on a raft with a city skyline in the background, sort of a worm's eye view, or in this case, since she's on water, it'd be a fisheye's view. And she's got her what looks to be an animated live teddy bear, and I'm not sure if that's something that's in her. Think Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know if it's in her imagination that this teddy bear is alive or if it really is, but I'm definitely interested in this book.
Next page 184 from Boom. We've got the second issue of the Magic. They don't advertise as Magic the Gathering, but the Magic the Gathering series. Several Planeswalker variants for this book. This is a book that I think if you're looking for a little additional storytelling to go along with your card game, you should definitely be picking that book up. Page 190. We have the continuation of Dune House Atreides. They're up to issue 7, but they are releasing a hardcover version of the first 4 issues. That's an early solicit for July, which I believe this series is supposed to run 12 issues, so this should be the first of 3 hardcovers. It's going to be a limited print run of 500 copies. So that's something you definitely want to pre-order if you want to get that book. I've got all these issues. I haven't sat down and read them yet. I'm a little concerned because I don't have super fond memories of this book whenever it first came out, because I did read it. I have some trouble with Kevin J. Anderson's writing, but with the movie coming out now this coming December, I don't know if you want to get your little bit of re-immersion into the Dune universe, then that would be your chance. I personally am just listening to the Frank Herbert book myself on audio. So page 208, Serial from Abstract Studios. Terry Moore's book is up to issue 4, and I don't know why, but I have not picked up any of these yet. I have got to track down those first 3 books because, I guess issue 3 is not out yet, but issues 1 and 2 probably are, and I missed them. So I need to find those. This is Zoe, who is from the Rachel Rising series. Mm-hmm. She's kind of the girl, or it's a serial killer trapped in a young girl's body. So you can imagine now she's going around killing other serial killers. So
sounds like Dexter.
It looks good to me. So I need to pick that up. I don't know that I have anything for a while, like 344. So.
I have 100 pages back from 344 on page 244. I didn't see this first time around, so again, I'm glad we did this again. It's by AWA Studios, and it is a Garth Ennis series. It's 8 issues, and it's called Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal. And she's basically a time-traveling criminal going back and stealing things, anything shiny or sparkly. It's kind of like a female version of Booster Gold, except, she's not also trying to become a hero in a past time, but she's basically just going and stealing artifacts. And that sounds kind of cool. The art looks really good. Goran Suzuka. And again, Garth Ennis is one of those really just is always a really good writer. So I might check that out.
That looks like Garth Ennis deliberately picked up somebody who could draw like Steve Dillon for that series.
Probably. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard definitely of Suzuka before.
Oh, have you? Okay. Well, I don't know if he's deliberately mimicking Steve Dillon or if that's just his natural style, but I see a lot of Steve Dillon in that art. So yeah, that's a good pick. I missed that first time through as well. I get Garth Ennis for me is hit or miss. Sometimes the violence in his books gets way over the top, but
right. I'm not good with the gratuitous stuff. I didn't like Section 8, that little mini that came out that was a spinoff from Hitman. Was it Hitman?
That I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, just his art or his war stuff is usually pretty good. I've read a few.
I know he had some really good Punisher stories and some really absurd Punisher stories, so that's kind of what I judge Garth Ennis by is his work on Punisher. So, I
knew that's where Suzuka, He actually did some work on Why the Last Man.
Ah, okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's where I remember the name. He did. I can't remember who the regular Pia Guerrera maybe did a lot of it, but this guy filled in.
I do not remember.
That's my first exposure to him. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm
moving
marking
on.
that book down. Yeah, I said I'm 344s. I'm still flipping. I'm up to about 300 on my flip through. So anything you've got before 344?
Quick mention on page 258 is by Clover Press, The Great Gatsby. It's just a comic version of the classic novel, an adaptation of the classic novel. It appears to be a one issue, adaptation. And so they're going to be packing quite a bit of story into one book. I always like those types of comics. And then on page 263 in the small press area, there's DC Superheroes, my first book of girl power board book. I've got two granddaughters that, especially the older one, I like to put books like this in front of her and maybe nurture her reading and maybe become a comic lover as her old grandpap, like me. Where did you say you were?
I have some on 307.
Okay. I think the last one before that I have is, we talked before about this, and I want to kind of bring it up in a different way. I first was interested in the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics, and Scott brought up a really good point that this guide is not necessarily going to tell you as a reader exactly how CGS
CGC.
I'm sorry, CGC
Or CBCS.
Or CBCS, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was mixing the two of them. How they're going to grade, they're not necessarily going to match up. But if you have a casual interest in grading, and like I do, it might be a pickup for you. Soft cover is only $16, $17.
Yeah, it is nice to know there are some things that you wouldn't consider flaws that are flaws, and some things that you would think would be a flaw isn't actually considered a flaw. Things like distributor spray across the top of the book. Where from when they used to send them to the newsstands, they run paint across the top, and well, that's not actually a flaw. But and then something that probably should be a flaw but isn't is like if the cover is miscentered. If you see that where you can see some of the back cover on the front or some of the front cover bleeds over to the back, that's not considered a flaw in grading. But like in baseball cards, you get an uncentered baseball card or any type of trading card, that's a flaw. So there's just some weird things with comic book grading that are different than grading. So it does help point out some of those flaws. But the last version of the book, which I have, doesn't talk about tears. So if you got a 1-inch tear on the cover, what does that affect the grade? It doesn't say in that book. It talks about holes and pieces missing, but it doesn't talk about tears. So maybe in this version they fill in that gap. So
somebody pick that up and let us know what you've learned. And it's also a good segue to bring up that Campus Comics does do they do, great. Scott, I'll let you talk about it. You're the expert on that.
Well, Mike is a CGC drop-off point, so you can bring in your books, and he will ship them to CGC for you. You have the advantage of, he'll wait until he gets, 10 books or so that way you can, spread out the cost of shipping there and shipping back. So yeah, it's if you've got some books that you would like to have graded, and then you could even talk to Mike when you drop them off if you would like to have those books pressed. He is also doing some pressing of some books. So if you're not in a super rush, then you can have those books pressed, and then before they get submitted, often that can bump up the grade. Anywhere from a couple of points, or I say couple of tenths of points. It could take a book from a 9 to a 9.2, or sometimes you can even get I'll give an example. Mike Atchison had a book that was sent in, and we cleaned and pressed it, and I'm quite confident it would have probably scored an 8.5, and it came back a 9.2. Is that right? That G.I. Joe? Yeah.
Oh no, G.I. Joe's 9.4. It came back.
9.4. Okay, so even almost, a full point on the improvements by getting some of those ripples out of the cover whenever you press. So Mike can do that. Um, so yeah, again, the big thing is the deferring of the cost, because otherwise you're looking at about $10 to $15 to ship it there and $10 to $15 to ship it back. And if you send it in with 10 books, now you're looking at $2 or $3 to ship it there and maybe $3 to $5 to ship it back. So you can save some money on the shipping costs by using Mike, and you don't have to have your own account with CGC. You just drop them off and let Mike take care of it. But do know it takes some time. Last time I looked, if you didn't do fast track on some of the grading, like some of the turnaround time was like 77 days. That's working days, not days of the week. And that's from the time that they get it into their system, which I sent some books in. We're getting close to a month, and they've received them, but they haven't even got them into their system yet. So yeah, so it's a little nerve wracking sometimes. So this is not for the faint of heart to send books in, because especially if you're sending in something valuable, which is why Mike always insures them in case something does happen in the shipping, so that you at least get some financial, something financial if something does happen to your books on the way there. But yeah, grading service offered by Campus Comics. Reach out to Mike Noe on Facebook or drop in the shop. 307.
You said your next place was 344, right?
I've got 307.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so 307. We mentioned this book before, but Jonna and the Impossible Monsters. This is Chris Somney and Laura Somney's creator-owned work. The first issue came out last week, I think. I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. But this is, I believe, Chris Somney's first creator-owned work. So if you're a fan of his work on, Daredevil, or he did a lot of work with Mark Waid on Daredevil and Rocketeer, and he's also got Firepower going right now with Robert Kirkman. So if you're a fan of his work, this is a book you should be looking into. All right, yeah. Now I'm up to 344. So
okay, I got one item. It's always I always go to this every previews. I at least try to find one of these two magazines worth touting on. Jack Kirby is highlighted in Alter Ego 170. It's an all Jack Kirby showcase issue. It just everything from his Captain Marvel, Mr. Scarlet and Fawcett, just goes all the way up till today. So it's got a new, or what does it say here? And first time, never before printed Kirby cover. So, and then the back issue 128 is the Bronze Age TV tie-ins, and I mean the 70s is kind of like my golden era of TV and comics, and so you've got the Bionic Woman, H.R. Puffin-Stuff, Lost in Space, Welcome Back Kotter. It looks like a really fun magazine to read about all of these shows and books that all the tie-ins that they had.
344 from Vault. We've got a new series called Blue Flame, and what caught my attention was one of the variant covers for this Blue Flame series is a homage to one of the early Rocketeer, the Rocketeer Adventures books, where he's kind of flying straight up at the cover. But this is a new series with writer Christopher Cantwell, who had a really solid run on Iron Man and Doctor Doom. So yeah, it's a good thing that they had that variant cover, because I would not have noticed this book at all without that variant cover. So I'm definitely going to add this to my list, because like I said, Christopher Cantwell's, the stuff that I've read of his has been really, really solid.
Yes.
395 is my next thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so back in the apparel section, and there are some. If you're a fan of the Kingdom Come series, they got some T-shirts. They got one of it's a black shirt with the older S style emblem for Superman. standing there on the cover or on the front of the shirt, and then they have kind of like the teams where it's one that's like more, I guess it's like that initial image of all the characters kind of split in half. So they have this one side with Superman kind of at the center,
Right.
and the other side with Captain Marvel, Shazam. I still want to say Captain Marvel
I do
on
too.
the other shirt. So those are really nice, and they've also are showing, and these are resolicits. They've been around before. Some like from Graffiti Design, like some really nice Frank Miller Batman shirts as well. And then on 396, they have the Incredible Hulk Monster Unleashed T-shirt, which is a black shirt with all green print. That is the of Incredible Hulk issue number 105, which is a pretty well-known cover where he's kind of coming up, not really necessarily out of the ground, but kind of almost like he's holding up the Hulk logo at the top of the page.
Yeah.
You got anything on side two?
Well, I do this time around. I'm just going to go
good.
ahead and bring up it's the Marvel Comic Gallery versus Dark Phoenix PVC diorama, and I just wanted to mention it's a really good-looking figure, and it's Dark Phoenix, and she's part of the central part of several other figures, including Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, Captain America, and Wolverine. And just because PVC, I think, holds up well, it looks good. It's not as sometimes those other statues are just hard to afford, and I think the PVC is a much more reasonable price, so it looks really good.
And I think, is that going to wrap us up for the March previews?
I think so, good sir.
All right. Well, do you have a book that you want to mention that you're kind of looking forward to?
You know, no matter what, I always think I'm prepared, and then as soon as you ask, I'm like, oh wait, what was it going to be? Okay,
yeah, and I don't remember what I said last time we recorded this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, no one will know, will they?
Exactly.
Justice League. I picked Justice League Last Ride as my most looking forward to book because of Chip Zdarsky. I'm interested on his take of the Justice League, and you know, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I guess for me it's going to be Die issue 16. You know, get a new story arc going. So that is a series that I am enjoying. It has that feel of the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon kind of all grown up. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So you got an investment pick? You wanna go out on the limb and recommend something?
Well, as long as I couch this recommendation that don't come back looking for me if it means nothing, if it's worthless, because I don't know. But it's the Stargirl Spring Break special where you have the eighth soldier of victory that's unknown. It's the mystery character. It's kind of an old but effective trick. They put the little silhouette of a person with a question mark. Who's this going to be? And you never know. It might be a new character. Or it might be a revived character from the Golden Age and be the first modern age appearance of somebody really cool. So it might be the Red Bee for all we know.
Well, there's nothing that I'm just like, this is an automatic, easy pick this month as an investment pick. So I'm going to go with Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. I think this is a book that some people are going to miss, get an order in. Now, it's a Star Wars book, so, places that are, have a lot of Star Wars fans are definitely going to be ordering this book. But, there's definitely a chance for this to be under-ordered. So I think this is a book to consider picking up. And then, you pointed out that issue of Nightwing is going to have a new character in it, Heartless, and as far as we can tell, that is a first appearance. Right. So that's something else to take a look at for, if you want to pick up a book and that you don't mind sitting on for a while and see what happens. So
I thought you might say the Dune book because it was limited print run. So.
No, those things, that's not going to sell enough. And to me, I don't understand a whole lot of value. Now, there are obviously people who put a lot of value in omnibus and limited runs, but
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why they're printing just 500 of that is that's probably how many they think they might sell.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to get everybody who wants that, because really, if you want it, you're buying the issues. So it's like, would you rather have the issues or have the hardcover? Well, I don't know. However you want to display it. Um, but there's a lot of people like some of the omnibus. Man, sometimes those things go for big money, especially when they're out of print.
Right.
Um, so that's not impossible, but I think that's unlikely. I'm not going to. If I get a copy, it will just be a single copy, just for me to put on my bookshelf. Um, I don't plan on buying multiple of those 500. And yeah, I guess I could try to corner the market, order all 500, and then everybody will have to go through me to get it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. No. So, Mike, if they wanted to, make fun of you for your love of the Aquaman film, where might they go about doing that?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you can harass me all you like on Mike Atchison 5, and I say that because I know none of you will. So
Yeah.
that's
And he can block you if you do. So
exactly. Come on with it. I love the Aquaman film. Scott and I love to have those friendly debates about it. But yeah, so Mike Atchison 5 on Twitter, and if you ever message or go through Facebook, since I don't have a public account on Facebook, you can always go through Campus Comics if you for some reason wanted to get me a message. So, yep.
And you can find me, Scott Reed, at burgcomics.com, burgcomics.com. It has links to my email and Facebook page and Instagram and eBay store and all that fun stuff. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the podcast, we would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a 5-star review on the app of your choice to, help get the word out there about our previews, issues, or episodes, and our other podcasts we do, where we talk about monthly books, occasional creator interviews. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Do I have the mailing address? It's 816 East Main Street, Suite B, right? For now.
It's either 816 or 815.
Okay. And then 457-6011, that's the correct phone number. Maybe that's why I didn't record.
Yes.
I have incorrect information. Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's 816 East Main Street, Suite B, and 457-6011.
Okay, that's right. That's what I had then. So, okay. All right.
Rhymes, 457-6011.
All right, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to check to see if it still says it's recording. It still says recording. There is a button to click stop recording. All right, so I'm going to go and click stop. We won't have any stuff for the end this time, but